Hello and welcome back to RPMbassy. Today we've got an album that I'm surprised I haven't done and I've kind of been meaning to do for ages, and I'm finally getting to it. It is a classic album, a no skips album at all. Perfect start to finish and just wholly iconic, much loved. It is Weezer's debut album, Weezer, otherwise known as the Blue Album, with the iconic front cover that's sort of become a meme unto itself, the cover we all know and love. So May 10th, 1994, this is when this came out. Produced by Rick Ocasek from The Cars. So the choice of Rick Ocasek essentially came out of Rivers Cuomo, or the band, being told they needed to find a producer, and Rivers Cuomo picking Rick Ocasek because of the song Just What I Needed, the Cars song, and the sort of sound that was on that song. And it's never been a connection that I've made before, but when I listened to this, I then went back and listened to Just What I Needed, and you know what, actually the guitars do sound remarkably similar. They're mixed differently, but tonally they are really, really close. And like the way it's kind of been put on here is to essentially bring the guitars and the bass really to the forefront. Like they're kind of the main event, and it's got that sort of like DIY heavy quality to it. And in fact, it is a heavy album for something that, like, in my head I've always kind of placed into like emo, punk, power punk, alternative, whatever you want to call it. Like the tones on this, like they're like bordering on stoner. It's really, really heavy and like just aggressive sounding. A lot of like stacked power chords on the guitar, which kind of adds to that. And yeah, like top to bottom, that combination of the production with how heavy the guitars sound, Rivers' kind of iconic vocals, and obviously like Matt Sharp, the bassist, his falsetto vocals all over the album. This is like, it fits in a really amazing middle ground of, it sounds DIY and kind of has that sort of punch to it, that spontaneity, if you will, but there's still like care and time taken to make it sound good. It's a really comfortable middle ground where I think it ends up sounding phenomenal because of it. It's not too polished, but it isn't like detuned or compressed or fuzzy in a way that like detracts from the songs. I also love, like, just getting into the songs here. They are all amazing songs, top to bottom. There isn't a bad song on here. I love the intro to My Name is Jonas, purely because it kind of gives you an entirely different idea of what the album may be until it hits. And I like to think that like that was a conscious choice to put My Name is Jonas at the very start of the album because of that. Interestingly enough, obviously the lineup that we know for the album is this one here. So Patrick Wilson, Rivers Cuomo, Matt Sharp and Brian Bell. Brian Bell doesn't actually write anything for this album. I believe he joins the band after the album is recorded, but before it's released. And previously to that was Jason Cropper, who was the other guitarist at the time. And during the recording sessions, he was a bit erratic, essentially. There's like a story of him finding out that his girlfriend was pregnant, and like him kind of having a bit of a mental breakdown and stuff. And in the end, Rivers decided that like they were kicking him out, got rid of him, and Rivers went and re-recorded everything. And there's like an interview snippet from Rick Ocasek saying that Rivers basically told him that he was going to re-record all of Cropper's parts, and Rick Ocasek's like, that's crazy, you can't do that. And he went in and basically did the entire thing, like every single song, a single take. And I mean, it worked. And like on reflection, I think like 20, 30 years later, like Jason Cropper said that it was the right decision to kick him out. So it's all kind of come full circle and it's fine now. But yeah, like Brian Bell, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have any guitar parts on here. He might have a couple of like vocal snippets and things like that. And the reason I bring that up is because the My Name is Jonas intro, that was written by Jason Cropper. So that's kind of like his lasting impact, while his parts, recordings aren't on the album. Some of his writing does still make it onto there, regardless of who actually ended up recording the parts. In terms of the songs on here, My Name is Jonas, we all know. You've got Buddy Holly, you've got Undone, the Sweater Song, Say It Ain't So, Holiday. Like, just straight off the bat, you've already got like some of the most iconic tracks that Weezer have ever done, and that's like half of the album. And then when you delve in further, you've still got like some amazing tracks. For me personally, my favourite, The World Has Turned and Left Me Here. I think that just sounds phenomenal. In the Garage as well. That like amazing track, and that really highlights the heaviness. There's a part during the verse, I think it's probably about 30-40 seconds in to the song, where you can first hear it, and it's just panned right, is just guitar and then Rivers' vocals in the middle, and the depth and the bass and the punch of that guitar, that's where that heaviness comes in, and the mixing from that, like, it sounds crushing while still being such a like melodic and musical album. It, again, as I said, it's like this perfect balance, and it's so well blended, and yeah, for good reason it's gone on to become such an iconic album. As far as like the performance of it when it came out, it did well. Like, review wise, it was pretty much critically acclaimed across the board. I think like the lowest rating that anything gave it was NME. They gave it like a 7 out of 10. Everything else that I can see is like 5 stars, 5 stars, A+, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree. As I said, like, this is non-stop perfect. And the legacy of this album, obviously they're not the first emo band, and a lot of people would argue that this isn't an emo album, or it's only kind of an emo album. But I think when you listen to the lyrics of it, especially something like the Sweater Song, Say It Ain't So, that kind of stuff, like, yes, I would be comfortable saying this is a firmly emo album. And you go and listen to something like Promise Ring, like their sort of first album, you can tell like they were listening to stuff like this. You go and listen to like the first MCR album, you go and listen to something like the debut Alexis on Fire album, like where you have that like early 2000s screamo kind of swell. Like you can hear this in there for sure, and you can hear the influence from that kind of like early first wave of emo. When we're talking about like Rites of Spring and Encore and stuff like that, you can hear them picking up that kind of like post-hardcore to emo kind of transition. And yeah, I mean, as I said, Lasting Legacy, not only is this like an album that so many people kind of cite as being an inspiration, and you can tell regardless of whether or not they do, but like, just the cover alone, as I said, it's a meme. It's become so like iconic. Matt Sharp's falsetto vocals have become iconic in their own right, and I think on any other album that kind of like falsetto vocal would sound goofy, and it does sound goofy on here. But I think with the cover, with the way that kind of like emo music was during that era, that kind of like second wave before you hit like the 2000s, skinny jeans, straightened hair kind of stuff, that kind of is kind of exemplary of what emo was. Like, it's kind of a nerdy thing. These guys are, it's like it's Gen Xers who like played D&D, and they were angsty, and they were like sad about things, and they were just like geeks who wanted to get together and make music. It wasn't about like, as I said, straightening your hair, wearing drainpipe jeans, and talking about slitting your wrists and stuff. Like this is kind of like where it kind of really sort of first captured the mainstream before it became like a style trend almost. Not that I dislike any of that. Like some of the screamo stuff, the early to mid 2000s, like I grew up listening to that, and that there is some bangers in there, and we'll talk about them one day. But yeah, like this Lasting Impact, like phenomenal, and as an album top to bottom, sounds amazing, written in such a catchy way. Like it is just, as I said, that perfect balance. As far as this version that I have here, pretty bare bones. You basically just get the album, and unfortunately no liner notes. You do get a poster, just like a studio snippet, which is, I mean, it's nice in its own right. You know, I do like to get that kind of like behind the scenes thing, and you know, it's interesting seeing like the Matt Sharp's bass, which has got the kind of weird like precision headstock, like the 50s precision headstock, but it's a jazz bass orientation, pickup wise, like just weird stuff like that. And like River's like iconic 2 humbucker Stratocaster, which like I wish that there was like a cheap Squier like reissue of that, because that's the kind of guitar I'd love to pick up. And then the record itself, again, basic as can be, but you know, we're here for the music. We've already got the iconic cover. It would be nice, you know, I'm sure there is a version out there which is the same blue as the cover, but I've just got the standard black. And yeah, I mean, it sounds killer. It's the kind of thing, like, it lends itself really nicely, despite being a heavier album, because it's kind of got that bassiness to it. It sits really well. It feels really good to listen to. And yeah, I mean, go and get yourself a copy. There's quite a few different versions that I've seen, and they're not expensive. Yeah, and then obviously after this you had albums like the Green Album. You had Pinkerton a couple of years after that, which in some ways I would say is a better album. Still a perfect album, but just in a different way. And that one definitely was emo. There's no disputing that. But yeah, like, if you haven't for some reason heard this album, at the very least go and listen to the singles. Say It Ain't So, Buddy Holly, Undone, like, phenomenal across the board. They all sound amazing. Like, just pick it up and listen to it all the way through. I dare you to skip a track up until up until Make Believe. Listen to all the stuff until Make Believe, and then like skip a few. But yeah, this is banging. Classic lineup. Great album. Perfect. No notes. Love it.